Around the Cabin is recorded before a live internet audience. Be part of the show. Post comments and questions to the host and other viewers. Go to aroundthecabin.com/campfire.
Alrighty. Well, we should be back up live in a room. I'm hoping you guys saw the commercials. After all, that's how we pay the bills. Let's get over here and bring our buddy Giuliano up, my brother from another mother down there in the southern part of the world. How you been, brother? How you been?
I'm cool. Actually, I'm so excited tonight because tomorrow I'm flying to São Paulo, to the countryside of São Paulo. It's a city near Monte Alto, near Ribeirão Preto.
How far is that?
Yeah, what happens is two good friends of mine, Batata, who is actually that Brazilian guy that took part in our last Portuguese show. He and another good friend, Paulo Senti, who's a bladesmith here in Brazil, they actually are putting out this first, they're putting up, I'm sorry, the first, survivalism course here in Brazil. It's actually like a course that will give people some ideas regarding preparation and in case they have to move to the countryside, how they can stay there for a given period.
No, wait. You do the school. You do the Montero school down there. So what is they're doing is what, some kind of difference, more of a prepper kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, that's right. It's not like a survival course, which you mentioned my school, which is right. The course I'm talking about here is not one of my traditional, one of the traditional courses we run down here in our school. What happens is this is another school, and I'm taking part as a guest, as an invited instructor.
Oh, so you're a guest instructor?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a guest instructor.
Oh, very cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah.
So how far you got to fly?
Well, it is in the same part of Brazil, southeast Brazil, where I am, where my state is. So it is down across the border, down south across the border. It's not a long flight at all. It's less than an hour, so it's going to take me only a little time to get there. I'm leaving tomorrow very early in the morning. I'm departing at 7:40 something. I gotta check it out. Don't remember, but that's very early. So, and I'm talking about Camouflage. This is the clinic. This is the workshop I'll be doing there. I'll be actually teaching them some basic principles behind of camouflage. So the origins of camouflage in the animal kingdom. The way that the animals do to disguise themselves. I forgot the word in English. I don't know if I know it. In Portuguese, we call it mimetismo. I'm guessing out here. Would that be mimetism or something like
mimicking?
Mimicking? Yeah, mimicking. I guess so. That's right.
Where they look like one thing, but they're actually another.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mimicking. That's
so
good.
a snake looks like a branch, and
that's right.
Yeah,
and they for several reasons. They do it for defense purposes. They do it for attack purposes, even for reproduction purposes.
Right.
So plants and animals, they all have a way to pretend they are something when they are actually not, for whatever reasons they have, and humans do that too, and we have been doing it for quite a while. When we talk about camouflage, people usually tend to think about modern camouflage, digital camouflage, multicams, woodland, and all that desert stuff and all that, but it is actually very old. There were certain periods of history when the humankind actually used camouflage very commonly. For example, Native Americans, they would actually cover themselves with a wolf's skin or even a buffalo skin, because then they would be able to approach the big groups of buffaloes that they had, because the buffaloes didn't fear the wolves. Or the buffaloes. So
right.
there was a way which the Indians had to approach the prey until they could actually launch the attack, which is the same approach you find in the animal kingdom. This is so cool because I don't know if my question here is, I don't know if we humans did it because we learned it from the animals, or if it was just a natural thing, that the natural conclusion that they came to after, I don't know, trying out several things. Because I would guess, I would say that they probably learned it from the animals, which might be a faster way for people to learn some of those skills. But whatever the starting reason was, I think they all had to do that, and they knew the benefits of using camouflage. The ghillie suit, for instance, I don't know if you guys know it out there, but it's nothing new. It's nothing that you would think about the snipers, the modern snipers. This is something that they came up with. Actually, it started back in the 18th century in the Scottish lands. It was used by the helpers of the hunters, to disguise themselves, so they wouldn't. When the animals entered the properties, they wouldn't scare the animals away if they saw them. So they would be like camouflaged. And later on, the military learned, the effectiveness of that suit for military purposes and adopted that. But it was like a hunting gear in the beginning, and so on, and even military uniforms. They were all colorful and big red, and this red, vermelhão, as we call it down here in Brazil, big red, or blue and all that.
Sure, that's how we when the Americans fought the British always wore red, and they marched in straight lines, and they had to learn to get out of the phalanxes they were in from Roman times. They fought in phalanx, which was good on an open field, but was terrible in the woods.
Yeah.
And back then, two armies, they'd face each other, and they'd scream and they'd holler and they'd try and get each other's blood up, and then they'd run over and charge each other. They may clash for a while, and then they'd break apart and this, that, and the other. They weren't used to continual fighting for hours at a time. That was a new thing when they got over here in the United States. People hiding behind trees, and they said, well, that's uncivilized.
That's right. That's more like the guerrilla type of warfare, which they were not familiar with. And there was another advantage that you guys Americans had back then. It is the type of rifle which a lot of the the people that were fighting the British had, it was not like the traditional British rifle. It was more like a type of hunting rifle, simple hunting rifle. So it was more precise than the British rifle. And that, alongside with the fact that, like you said, the British were used to traditional military approach, which was used by people there, by the European. When they got there, it's a whole new, different ball game. Pretty much like what you guys found in Vietnam when you got there, and it was nothing like the WW2 approach, which a lot of generals and leaders had in mind. So it was, things are always evolving and changing, and the military and the military approaches change too. So the armies have to keep up with all that change, and sometimes it's hard.
I want to say the first use in military of camouflage, like we consider it, was probably 14th century ninjas. Was probably 14th century ninja from Japan was probably one of the first that I can think of recorded history of using camouflage. They wore black, they attacked at night, they did those kind of things.
Oh yeah, you're talking about their black suit for night action, right?
Yeah. They'd attack at night. They'd all wear black and everything. So I think that was probably one of the first, if I remember correctly, one of the first historical military kind of things, because back then it was a military kind of thing. But as far as hunting, hunting and that, we go back, millennia. I mean, the men wore cavemen wore the skins that they had.
That's right.
So they probably got closer. Well, you have to get really close to hit somebody with a club now, don't you?
You have to. Yeah, but then it just reminded me of something else regarding the U.S. history. The first people in the United States to actually wear some type of camouflage were Roger Rangers. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, right?
Yeah, Roger's Rangers, and he came over and went up and fought the French and attacked the Indians, the Pequot Indians and the other Indians up on the eastern coast.
Yeah, these guys were operating behind the enemy line.
They were like our first special forces, weren't they?
That's right. That's what I was going to say. Pretty much like a Green Berets back.
And they did. They all wore green.
That's right. So
do you know something?
Right.
They had our Rangers and our elite military still use Rogers Rangers codes.
All right.
They still carry the code, the codes that Rogers gave to his Rangers about what they should carry and how they should look and everything else. That we still use that today.
That's right. Which is cool actually, because I learned a little bit about his history, and he actually died in England, far away from the States, because it was too bad that he was fighting for the British previously, I think, and he didn't actually have the chance to get back to the States and maybe even fight for the U.S. independence. So that's that's a very interesting part of history. And nowadays, we have all types of camouflage, and there's even this new type of optics camouflage, which, if you ask me, that sounds pretty much like science fiction, because it's like the Predator type of camouflage. I mean, it would reflect the light around you, so it reflects the environment around you.
Right.
And that changes according to the place where you are. And this is actually active camouflage, because this is another concept which I'll be discussing with these guys. Active and passive camouflage. And active camouflage is the type of camouflage that changes as the environment changes.
Now here's I'm gonna put a picture up real quick. This is a picture of World War I.
All right.
And this guy, let's see if I can get this to come up. This guy has World War I. Now this is camouflage when they fought from around buildings. You're gonna laugh at this, but this is the camouflage when they fought around the buildings. Let me get this moved back over here.
Oh my gosh! What kind of looks like a weird lizard?
Well, think about it now. It's breaking up his silhouette. It's breaking up. It's early camouflage, and we weren't looking for. We didn't understand the camouflage quite so well, and we were trying to Now, if he was in an urban environment,
Maybe.
you know,
Or he looks like a freaking zebra, man. Come on, look at
yeah,
that.
well, it was a soldier in World War One. That
Or-
picture is from 1917.
well, the early, maybe that was an earlier version of tiger stripes or
Maybe,
zebra
maybe,
stripes.
but that's the kind of thing that they gave it a shot. They gave it a try. We can only say, hey,
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
we know back then the military was trying stuff.
I only regret that they were actually trying that in war times. It wouldn't be very safe for the soldier. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, that would be a better idea if they tried it during a peacetime. So no, there wouldn't be no real bullets. To try to prove his camouflage really works. You know what I'm saying?
Well, by World War II,
Zebra camel. That's right, football. Zebra camel. I'm sorry. What was that, Rich?
by World War II, we had switched over to something more like this. Now, how's that?
Oh yeah, that's the Pacific type of camel, right?
Yeah, that is an Allied soldier in World War II.
But that doesn't look like an American soldier because of the type of helmet.
No, it probably wasn't. It says Allied, so it's probably not American soldier. Probably British or something like that.
And let me tell you something about that camouflage. It is actually the very first type of camo I ever saw in my life back here, down here in Brazil, back in the 80s. That very same pattern was used by the Brazilian army, by special force and paratroopers and all that. That's the camo we had back in the 70s, early, probably 60s too. I'm not sure about the 60s, but that was around here. That was around here back in the 80s. And that was so cool because it was reversible. It was like for woodland areas, on one side in like a desert beach type of area, which is more like browns and khaki on the other side. It was really cool.
Now, what do you think of that digital camo they have nowadays?
Well, oh my gosh, don't get me into that.
I know you're a tiger stripe fan. I know that. I know you like
yeah,
camo.
because I'm in a tropical area, right? So let's see. This is the T-shirt I'm wearing here. It has the Brazilian Army Woodland pattern, which is actually the lizard pattern. It is based on the French lizard, which was used back there in Indochina and before Vietnam was Vietnam like we know it. Anyway, it is really effective for Brazil and the Amazon for a tropical kind of area. But the thing I really want to discuss here as we are talking about camouflage, and you asked me about the digital camouflage. We have to understand a few things when you're talking about digital camouflage here. First, the concept itself is awesome. The idea that you have this type of a design which actually break those solid lines, like the woodland, the traditional woodland camo you had back in the 80s and 90s. It is cool and everything, but then you have solid lines splitting the colors. You have a black, brown, solid brown line on one side, and then it's green, and then it's khaki, and all that. So somehow the human eye can actually catch that solid line. Where the great advance, the great contribution of digital camouflage, if you ask me, is breaking that solid line. It's shattered. Now your eyes will have much more trouble to identify, to pick those areas as you have shattered the lines, and then this is really cool. The problem is, and I say problem because I think that the U.S. Army has admitted that already too. The ACU, I don't like to call it ACU because ACU is not the camouflage. ACU is the new uniform model, which is Army Combat Uniform. They replaced the 4-pocket jacket for that thing with the 2 slanted pockets and 2 on the shoulder because of the vest and all the new gear and all that BS, if you ask me. But the problem is the camo pattern they came up with, the colors they used for the digital thing they chose. That was ridiculous, and I'm serious. I remember the very first time I saw ACU a picture. someone came and said, "Hey, Juliana, have you seen the new U.S. Army uniform?" And I was like, "No, no, really." I was like, "Dang." I mean, Woodland works so well for a whole bunch of environments. I believe that this one must be such a great improvement, and I was so, willing to see it. And I'm sorry, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it at all. I thought there was something wrong with the picture because that grayish thing on a uniform couldn't be right. But then I looked in the background and it was like woodland and greens and pine trees and everything. And the freaking uniform just looked like it was designed for the man fighting on the moon.
Right.
Because, all the gray and shading, the dark shades. And I thought, what the heck are they doing here? What environment is this uniform? And then the name of the camouflage. At first, people didn't call it ACU, like I said. It was all-terrain. Now, get a load of this, and if there are any military people out there just watching the show, try to explain this to me. How on earth can one single pattern cover forest environment, desert environment, and an urban environment? I mean, I might be wrong here, and if I am, you guys will have to excuse me. But the way I was taught, the way I learned it, is that no pattern can effectively cover all the possibilities, all the terrains, and all the possible landscapes because of the variation. Now, when you try to cope to mix in one pattern,
you're right. You're right, because now look, we've modified it to now we have desert camo, right?
Oh yeah, but no, get a load of this. I'll get there. I'll get there. You already had a great desert pattern, which was the 3-color, which came up after.
That's what I have. That's what I have. I have the old style.
Yeah, but I mean the chocolate chips. It's not really good because it's too dark. But after the Gulf War, you came up at the end of the Gulf War. You came up with the 3-color desert, the desert 3-color uniform, and that was awesome. And then the Marines, dude, the Marines did the right things. This is a problem that you don't pay too much attention to the Marines, man. That they got the right idea. Seriously, you're too much about the freaking Army cap here. I should throw this thing away, and the Marines know how to do it, right? Why? Because they came up with several patterns. They have the Woodland pattern, which is the coyote color mixed with browns and greens and blacks. And they have the desert pattern. And if I'm not wrong, they actually have a whole variation for woodland areas, urban areas, and desert, and they will use those patterns accordingly, right? According to the type of area they are, fighting at. Now, when the Army came up, hold on a second, when the Army came up with that, ACU, all-terrain baloney, I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't. Seriously, man. I mean, and I wonder how many.
They were trying to save money. They were trying to save money, and it didn't work. And they had to change it, and they've changed it again. And they're probably going to change it. But you're right. I have the old style Woodland. Okay, I don't have any tiger stripes, but I was issued old style Woodland, and I was issued the old style Desert, which was 3, looked like the Woodland, but it was a little bit different. And
that's right. The 3
I had that, and then they changed it. Now the thing that bothers me about all of this and the clothing, I have a very good friend of mine that was involved with the Velcro, and he actually they came out with the Velcro, and he told the colonel, he said, "This is not going to work." And the colonel said, "Why?" He said, "Okay, well, you take men, put them out in the field." He says, "I will find each and every one of them." He said, "I don't believe you." He said, "Okay." He said, "You're wearing it." He said, "Go out there in the field and stand for a few minutes."
Bitch, come on.
So now listen. The colonel went out, and my buddy had a blindfold on. The colonel went out. He didn't know what direction he went in. He didn't know how far he went or anything else. He went out there, and they stood there for about 20 minutes. And then that colonel stood there and stood there and stood there, and finally he fidgeted and adjusted his wrist cuff. And when he did, he pulled the Velcro, and my buddy turned and pointed at him and went, "Bang, you're dead."
Oh.
and was pointing directly where the colonel was. You know, it was a distance away, but he knew exactly in the area, even blindfolded. He knew where that colonel was because he heard that Velcro. He said, "I've never heard a button unbutton, but I could hear Velcro."
That's right. That's right. And not to mention the colors of the pattern itself. Seriously, when I was like stunned, and I couldn't believe they had actually picked up those colors for the uniform, because it doesn't take an expert. That's the point. I still can't understand. It does not take an expert to see that gray, a color that pretty much resembles white, which would be the khaki, and that green, which is not green at all, do not fit in like woodland areas. I remember seeing a video of the U.S. Army with the, I don't know, it was like maybe the Philippine Army, and they were in the jungle somewhere back in Southeast Asia, and all those, the Philippine Army had like the greenish type of camouflage and all that, and seriously, those U.S. GIs, they look like ghosts in the landscape.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, it doesn't take an expert to see that it doesn't work. There are very few places where it works. Maybe it will work well and perform well at a certain environment, and that would be okay. But when you try to push it down my throat that it is supposed to take care of three completely different environments, forest, desert, and urban, this is a complete contradiction to the concept that no pattern can take care of all those three completely different environments. So you have to have a very good excuse to try to make your troops wear that thing, because a lot of people must have got injured and maybe even died because of that. So for maybe for a lifer, this rear echelon, MF out there, who's never really been in combat and has never had his butt, at risk, he wouldn't care what color, the uniform is. He doesn't mind. He doesn't mind if it is blue, white, or whatever. But everybody knows that light colors don't match in dark environments. So this is a basic concept that you should take in consideration, and they didn't. So you say, it was all about money. Yeah, and I remember another excuse that they gave at the time. They gave that excuse too. They said that they had spent 18 months. If I'm not wrong, they said that they had spent 18 months studying that uniform. And dude,
now how do you feel about this?
Let me finish this. It took me 18 seconds to see it was a complete failure.
How do you feel about this one?
18 months among retarded. I'm sorry, but what kind of people were judging that? Seriously.
What do you think about this picture I put up in the room now?
Woodland is the way to go. You shouldn't have. I mean, seriously. The Marpat is okay. It works well for a whole bunch of areas too. But you should still be playing with the Woodland pattern, because it fits well to a whole bunch of different environments you've got out there in the States and abroad too.
So you like this one?
Yeah, I do. Come on, it's awesome. Woodland is awesome.
That's the stuff I like. Now let me see if I can find.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find a desert here. So that.
Now you said something about the tiger stripes. There is a problem with the tiger stripes. I have noticed there is too much black on it. Too much black on it.
Well.
The stripes are not a bad idea at all, but all that black just gives you away, because you don't have that whole amount of black in nature. At least, I mean in a tropical country. I'm in tropical environment, a lot of times tropical forest, and you just don't have all that black together. You have shades of black, but they're smaller, and they're surely not as thick or as bunched up together as you have on the pattern. However, the back colors are awesome. If you just have the back colors in like brown stripes or darker green stripes, it would work out better.
Now let me see here. Now this is my favorite desert And this is what I was issued. I was issued this kind of pattern for desert. Real close to that.
Well, yeah, well, that looks like the three color.
Yeah, that's the old stuff.
Yeah.
Now, what I tell you what, I do not like, and I'll see if I can get this here.
But you have the 1980s chocolate chips. Do you remember the 1980s chocolate chips?
Yeah.
I think it worked well for Arizona or these American deserts, but not really for the Middle East where they were supposed to work.
What do you think of that?
Oh, that's the U.S. Marine, the desert marpat. Marpat is awesome. You know, even the Canadian catapat. I don't know how you pronounce it. I mean, it's awesome for tropical areas because it's got a lot of greens.
Right.
A lot of greens. And this is something I want to mention here. I remember that I noticed that with the marpat, the first time I saw the woodland marpat, I noticed the coyote tan. And watching some of Dave Canterbury's videos, especially in the fall when you don't have all the green anymore and it's just brown, you guys do a lot. You do have a lot of browns in the States, right? At least maybe in some areas of the United States. So it makes sense for you to think your uniforms in terms of using more browns, like you do with the marpat and everything. But I've tried the woodland marpat, which is the marine pattern down here in tropical forest in the jungle, and it doesn't work too well because there's too much of the coyote tan there, of the brown color, which works really great for your area, but not down here. However, the Canadian catapat or catapot, whatever the pronunciation is, it's got a way more green to it. So it works down here way better than any other U.S. patterns that you guys have been using lately. And the multicams included. The multicam is awesome for the Cerrado area where I am because it's lighter green, but not for the jungle. I mean, the traditional woodland camouflage, the MU1, I think you call it MU1 woodland, right?
I don't know. Honestly, I could not tell
you. If I'm not wrong, the name they use for the woodland is M1.
Right.
M1 works really well down here in Brazil, and of course, tighter stripes because greens, and even the traditional OD green, it goes really fine here too.
Yeah, but you know, there's a lot of the Germans have some really good camo. The Canadians have some really good camo. I'm surprised the U.S. doesn't do more with their camo.
Well, this is funny because I think you guys actually do. You have a new pattern every 10 years or so. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Actually, I think the woodland, you know, actually was around, had been around for quite a while because it started with the woodland pattern in the late.
Woodland's been around. Right after the Woodland came out, right after Vietnam.
That's right, late 70s,
so, you know,
90s, right?
You know, well, I had it for almost 20 years. We went to desert, you know, back in the late 80s, early 90s. We started the desert stuff, and that's where I got my first issue desert that I still have. And that's the old style desert stuff. It's no, I don't have any of this, the newer digital stuff. But I like those. I like the older ones myself. I think they work better. And the only thing I would ask for when I was in, the winter was just an all-white coverall, which wasn't good to me. Now I know that they actually put, you know, more texture into the white for winter. But I would think we would need more for that for winter, more camo besides just all white.
Oh yeah, that's right. You mentioned something there which is a key element in camouflage, if you ask me, which is texture. Now I have observed, and I actually have something really interesting here to present to this group I'll be training, and I can even show you guys too if you want. It is a personal solution that I found for the problem I noticed when the uniform is exposed to direct sunlight. And what happened, what I was able to learn is that whatever pattern you have. I don't care if it is for the jungle, the desert, for the moon, whatever pattern it is, the color, the sun will actually break the colors and will light up the whole area where it is shining on. So you can pretty much see the whole shape of the surface where the sun is being shining on. If it is a person, you can see the shoulders, you can see the head,
Right.
and again, it doesn't matter what pattern you have, what uniform you are wearing, because it's not a matter of the colors anymore. Since the sun shines them away, it is actually the fact you have no texture to break the shape of your uniform, of your body.
Right.
It is not disruptive, and
Well,
this
that's why they teach you for camouflage that you should add, a branch here, and that's why the Boonies hat has stuff to stick in. You can stick stuff in your epaulets. You can stick stuff in a buttonhole or a pocket. You want to break up that human form.
Yeah,
but once you get that human form, that's why you stand behind a tree. You lay down behind a tree, or you lay down behind a rock or whatever, because you want to break that form up, because a shape is a shape.
Yeah, but now you're right. But get a load of this. The problem is when you don't have a lot of places where you can hang trees and grass and other natural material, only the pockets, it makes it difficult for you to actually effectively cover the outline of your body, the shape of your body.
Right.
And I remember that the old uniforms, the Brazilian ones too, when they were just the shirts, and the earlier Vietnam four-pocket models, they have the shoulder epaulets. What do you call them? Epaulets? Those
epaulets.
Epaulets, that's right. And that was a good thing, which could be used, to actually hang some stuff in there. But it doesn't really. I've tried it with the uniform, only using the pockets and stuff, and the band around the booty hat. But it didn't work too well. So what I noticed is that you really, besides the colors, you really have to match the texture somehow. Then I came up with a pattern which I would like to show you guys. If you can just wait for a few seconds until I go get it back there.
Sure.
It is, I call it Atlantic Woodland, because it's based on the American M1 Woodland. I use it for the background, and I came up with some type of pattern that resembled the woodland shape too, and they created these layers that will overlap one another, creating the texture that helps breaking the sun shining on the thing.
All right.
And I'll go get it right now. It's going to take
right.
me like 10 seconds. Hold on a second,
No
please.
problem, no problem. That might be like the real tree stuff we have up here, where they've got, it looks like fake leaves sewn on you, and other things. You could use like a sniper veil for that, or a chili suit. I don't know if anybody else has ever wore a chili suit. They are very heavy, and they are very uncomfortable, and they are very hot. But they will work if you have the right stuff. But if you have the chili suit on and you move from one section to the other and you don't quite match, you'll stand out like a sore thumb. So, you really got to have your stuff together. And that's the right thing with the real tree stuff. If you move from, you got trees on you and you move out into the grassland, you stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, real tree is actually awesome. It works really great. But again, if you really want to have your camouflage pattern to work in a tropical area like where I am, or most of parts of Brazil, you really have to have a pattern that has a lot of greens to it, more than one color, more than one variation, which is something that doesn't happen too commonly with the American uniforms. Now this is what I call the Atlantic Woodland pattern. You see that it is the
flopping it around. Hold still for a minute. Let's see. All
You
right.
see it?
So what is that, burlap or extra material?
It is several types of fabric that I bought. Like it's some cotton, some like twill, polyester, and I have shapes of greens, browns, all added to the jacket. Let me see if I can show you how it works.
So you've added material to break up the outline.
Yeah. What happens is the whole set, the booty hat, it has like a piece of fabric that goes on the back, pretty much like the Japanese cap back in WW2, that helps breaking the shape of your head and your shoulders, which is something that can be easily identified by human eye. So by adding these layers on the top of the uniform, I now not only have the colors that are present in the environment, but I also have a disruptive surface where
just like Mike Parker and them were saying, it's just like a ghillie, or kind of like a ghillie suit with webbing.
Yeah, that's the idea.
And then Mike Miker says it gives you that 3D effect.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. It gives me the 3D effect because now what happens is I have a texture. In other words, the 3D effect, it plays with the texture aspect because
the light then hits in different directions and
exactly,
reflects off of it and gets caught in shadows and doesn't reflect this way and doesn't reflect that way. It's not one surface. That's
right. You got that right because you guys might have noticed that the sun completely gives away the shape of your body in you because it breaks the colors. So it doesn't matter what colors you have. What you need is a surface that will break. What do you call
it gives you depth. It gives you definition. The light reflects off of that one flat angle. Whereas if you have that, there's not one angle, so it's automatically going to break in different directions and not straight back.
So it doesn't create the shape, the shining shape, which gives away people's position in the bush. So the whole idea is to break that shining shape, which is created by the sun. And I call it the Atlantic Woodland because, man, seriously, I'm not exaggerating. I have a few videos on YouTube, which I should have
I've seen those where you come out of the pile of leaves and that, and we don't know where you are in there, and all of a sudden
where you are.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating, dude, seriously, because my wife, she was shooting that video with me. She was behind the camera. And I was seriously, I'm not lying to you guys. I was probably, let's say, 6 to 7 meters away from the camera stand where she was standing behind. And after I laid down on the ground, where using the same principle I used here on this uniform, she said that I literally was, I sunk into the ground. It was like I was sucked into the land.
Yeah, and you were gone.
I became dry leaves, dead leaves, and dust and wood, and I became the ground. And she had to look in the camera, and because when she saw me on the camera, she noticed that there was a tree next to where I was laying down. So she used that tree as a referential to pick my position. And she had, what I'm trying to say here is, even standing at, let's say 6, 7 meters away from me, she was not able to see me at all.
Right.
I disappeared. So
I had somebody ask me if you had cut that video.
No, it is still.
It was you coming up. I know it was you coming up out of there with a camouflage. But I had somebody ask me, "Hey, I saw where Giuliano spliced the video where he wasn't there, and all of a sudden he's there standing up." I said, "No, he just came out of his camouflage."
No.
I said he didn't cut that video. He just stood up and did that. He doesn't do those kind of things.
Oh yeah, because of the opening. That's right. Yeah. No. Actually, if you see it, the opening shot actually shows me getting up. So you don't see. You look at the ground. You look at the place and the thing. You don't see nothing. And then all of a sudden I get up from the ground, and it's like the ground is coming alive. And what happens is at the end of the video, I use the first part of the shot, which is when I moved from the tree where I was standing, and I laid down to the ground, and then you can actually see that is the same place where I had previously got up from at the beginning of the video, if you know what I'm saying. So no, it was just one shot, one straight shot.
But yeah, I had a guy. I said no, he doesn't do that with his video stuff. So yeah, it was funny.
No, no, no. That was for real. That was for real. My brother is a cop, and he was watching that video, and I froze the image, and I said, "Man, try to see me there." And he's looking at the trees. He's looking near the tree logs and everything. And no, there you are, there you are. I said, no, no, you're looking at me, but you don't see me. I am on the ground. Oh, he said, no way, you're not on the ground. And then there he was, man, for like almost 5 minutes, looking at the ground, trying to see me, and he could not see me. When I finally played the video and I got up, he goes like, no way, man. It was like one of those movies, like Terminator, when he had that melting guy, the metal guy that
Yeah.
would melt down away on the ground and come up again. It was like some sort of a, Hollywood type of
Now, Mike Parker in the room asked, has anybody ever used Skyline camo?
Skyline. What is that? I never heard of.
I don't know.
What is the Skyline, Mike? I never heard of that, brother. Well, I don't know. Sounds like a science fiction type of camouflage. Is that right? Sky
Skyline
blue
camo.
with branches.
Is that like urban camo, that black and white stuff?
Sky blue with branches and good treetops. Sky blue. I mean, is there blue in the camouflage pattern?
Yeah, there apparently there is. I'm looking it up right now. I mean,
Because
there's some other patterns here. There's a vivid green pattern. There's a blue and gray and white, which doesn't make sense to me unless it's like if you're an airplane. But, it might work pretty good. Well, I don't know about that blue though. See, but the gray and white, the different shades of gray, what we used to call urban camo.
Well, that blue doesn't work for any place at all. I'll tell you what, I remember back in the 80s, you guys had the U.S. Air Force Woodland. Instead of the blacks, it had the blue. Do you remember? Do you guys remember that? The U.S. Woodland uniform back in the Air Force, the Air Force uniform back in the 80s. Instead of the black color, it actually had the blue color in that. And I never understood that. I remember seeing one of those down here in Brazil back in the 80s, and it was something that really caught my attention. And this is funny because the Brazilian Air Force has the same blue color in the pattern, in their camouflage pattern, which is actually great, except for that little piece of the sky there. And I never really got that, seriously. I know they have to be different from the Army, but blue, come on, I mean...
I guess if you, like he said, in treetops, I guess if you were up in a treetop, it might be.
Oh, come on. Then your silhouette would probably give you away. I mean, I don't, it's hard to buy that one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
well, here's I got a digital camera of urban camo, which I don't know, man. I don't know about the urban camo. Hold on, let me see if I can get the screen region here. This urban camo just doesn't do a whole lot for me. I understand the principles behind it, but I actually have a pair of pants of that stuff that I got I think I got it the other week. I told Mike, I got a pair of those. I got Woodland camo BDUs, and I got an extra pair of digital camo BDUs, and I got all of them for $5. I got two pairs of pants and a top for $5.
I don't know if that works really too well for an urban environment unless you have like dirt snow in it.
I don't know.
If you're like in New York in December, maybe that New York City in December, maybe that's a good uniform.
I don't know. I understand the principle is supposed to break you up, but I think if you were just a gray like a concrete wall or something like that, you might be better than splotches like that.
Even the freaking all-terrain ACU, the old Army pattern should work better in the urban environment than that thing there. I seriously, Rich, I tend to believe that a lot of that camouflage market became too much of a trend stuff. Then now you have, the Woodland pattern, the M1 is actually great for woodland areas where you have lots of greens and stuff. But now, because that works for that particular environment, let's come up with this urban woodland, urban pattern that uses the same shapes and format as the old woodland does, and then you try to apply that to an urban environment, and
There you go. That's what
it's
you
trying
need,
to push it too
Giuliano.
hard, too further. I know.
You need a 4-wheel drive golf cart in that blue pattern right there. That's what you
I
need.
mean, if you were a Smurf, that makes sense, right? Seriously, man, come on. Unless you were a Smurf, why on earth would you come up with that thing? Seriously.
Well, I
You're
don't know.
color, you're colorblind, what, or something? Because
here's one that may work better in an urban environment. Okay. How about that? How about Burger King, Coca-Cola, Marlboro, Starbucks?
oh, that's
That might work better than an urban environment.
oh yeah, dude, he's got all the garbage.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, but I don't know. I don't know. Some of the stuff, like you said, it's just trendy. It's fun.
Yeah.
They wear it. They use it that way. I mean, I had a guy, Woodland Camo on his cell phone, and I'm thinking, well, that's really good. If you're out in the woods and you drop your cell phone, you'll never
You'll
find
never
it.
see it again. You have to wait till somebody calls you.
You call me so I can see which leaf buzzes.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, get a load of this. Have you guys seen the new FG Attacks FG, the foliage green one? Attacks, you know that the new pattern that they.
The ATAC. Okay.
ATAC, yeah. You have ATAC FG, which has some green shades there, right? Shades of green there, right? Have you seen that one?
SD.
No, FG, foliage green. That stands for foliage green. The ATAC FG.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No.
No. All right. You have probably seen something that resembles it a lot on that movie. The Star Wars, when you have the Empire counterattack. Is that right? Or is that? I don't remember if that's the same movie, but. There's one of those Star Wars movies which they have a battle on a planet which is like a big forest, and the rebels, they are on the planet, and they all have this type of a camouflage, which resembles the ATAC FG a lot, and that was the first thing that came to my mind when I first saw the ATAX FG, is that that resembles the uniform those guys had on the movie, and it's pretty much the same idea, the same concept. It is funny because it is not like anything that you have seen before in camouflage. You don't have the solid lines that you have on
like this.
It's like a stain. I don't know if I can't see it too well from here. Hold on a second. Let me. I don't know if it's. Is it? Yeah, I think that's the one. But there's too much gear breaking. Breaking the color. So maybe you can get a picture that only shows the pattern itself. That would give people a better idea of what I'm talking. If you can. Anyway, that's really funny because you don't have the solid lines that you have with the woodland, or even the shapes that you have with the digital. It is more like it has been dyed with.
How about these?
Oh yeah, that's a better idea. Yeah,
I might be able to get you a better picture. Hold on, let me see. Add.
It's more like a stain. The uniform is being stained with several colors, with several types of dyes. Yeah, you see, that's the urban or the desert pattern. Right. It's
the same effect. There's no crisp lines where the colors change.
Yeah, that's right. So they just overlap one another.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is cool because it is not really difficult for people to reproduce and try to emulate that pattern at home. if you try it, I have seen people, at home, um, making that type of camouflage on shirts and jackets and stuff, and that works really well. And you can actually have a very similar result, if you do it, if you try it. So
I want one in tie-dye so I can hide amongst the hippies.
Yeah, it's a similar process because it diffuses the color, right? You don't have those lines separating the colors. The color is diffused.
Right.
So I think it's interesting. I think it's cool.
Now, let's see here. Well, that's a little harsh. That's not the word. I have not seen the green version yet.
No, yeah, the foliage green. You just look for the ATAC foliage green or FG for foliage green, and you should have it. You should
Well, that's
get
what I'm looking for, and I'm not seeing it.
Oh,
Everyone I see is either you've got a whole bunch of gear. There might be one here. Here's a hat. Let me see if this is close to what you want.
and what about OD green? Do you like OD green? Do you like wearing OD green? If you ask me, this is my favorite color. Most of my shirts and the stuff that wear in the bush is actually OD green. I even prefer it to any other type of camouflage.
How about that green there? How about that one?
Oh yeah, there it is. There you go. There you go. Now you see it. Now that can actually give people a very good idea of what I'm talking about here, as not having the solid lines.
The OD green works in my area.
What?
The OD green will work in my area as long as I'm not right out in. If I'm back in the shadows, it will work. The OD green, just a plain green, will be okay. But you have to when you're using camouflage, you have to think about breaking up the shape, the silhouette, that kind of thing. I mean, we've got people. They do special. What am I trying to say? What's the word here? They do special documentaries where they record stuff and they do other things. And one of the things they do is they actually they use like a log. So they actually use something of nature, and they were filming alligators. They had constructed a fake log, and they had actually got into the log, and the alligators didn't bother with them because they thought it was a log.
All right.
And they were able to film. They had an end that was actually special glass, and they could film through it. But the alligator didn't care because he just figured it was a log.
That's right.
And so if he wanted to hunt alligator, you could hunt alligator through the log. I mean, that would be the way to do it. But that's camouflage right there. They do the same thing if they build a tree, a fake tree, and have birds nest in it. And the inside of the tree, the bird don't care if a tree's 2 feet around or 20 feet around. It's a tree for the bird to nest in, and then they make it so that they have cameras, inside the tree, up against the tree skin. It's actually a camera, and they can film. The bird doesn't care because it's a tree.
All right.
So I mean, different versions of camouflage.
Yeah, I have seen these tents which people set, and they get inside, and it's usually like a camouflage type of tent, something that resembles a rock or a tree or some type of a bush, and they stay there just shooting their videos, filming whatever they're doing. They're taking photos, and that's also a good way, for people to stay in the bush for longer periods without giving away their position by moving. Because one problem with using a ghillie suit or even this type of a uniform I just showed you guys is that it is really effective as long as you're quiet, as long as you stay put.
Now here's a picture of Mike Parker.
Pretty fast, and that's the disadvantage. As if you're in one of those tents or even in a fake log like that, you can still move, can still have like a more comfortable time than if you just froze yourself like a sniper. Like Carlos Hancock did back there in Vietnam for 3 days, man, and
Yep.
that's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Now here's a picture that Mike Parker sent me while we were doing a show here. This is the digital or the camouflage for the treetops that he was talking about.
All right.
I don't see any blue in this one, but I could understand if it had some blue in the background where it would look like the sky.
Well, I'd like to see
He
it.
says for being up in the treetops, I guess, and shooting down.
Right. Hold on a second.
As long as the trees look like that around you.
Is that the one? All right. Well, it's like the real tree with all the leaves and with the white background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I mean,
Right.
it depends. The camouflage only works good if it's in the area you're using it. So if you got desert camouflage in the jungle, that don't fly. And if
No.
you got jungle camouflage in the desert, it ain't good. So
That's right.
you got to mimic what's around you. And if you're around a bunch of cars, you might as well look like a Chevy.
That's right.
Well, I'm serious. I mean, that's the way it goes. Some of these guys put, Woodland camouflage on their car and then park their cars where people can see it. If you're going to put Woodland camouflage on your car, you need to park your car under the trees.
Oh yeah.
And things like that. So, I understand they get these different camouflage things that look okay, but you got to understand if they're looking at this, if this thing is painted camouflage and it's on the ground in the grass, that's not going to blend in.
No.
You have to mimic the area you're around. You're better off to park your green van or your red van or whatever and then totally cover it with bushes. So that you can't even see the color, then it's blended in. But if it does. I know guys who go hunting. Now here's one of the problems. You don't have pine trees down there, right?
We do, but not as a native tree.
Okay. So if I'm going to go hunt an animal, and we have this happen up here all the time, we have hunters, and they will get a chemical that smells like a pine tree, or they will put their clothes in with pine tree leaves and things like that, or branches, and then they'll go hunting in an area where there's no pine trees. Then you stand out to that animal because that animal goes, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah.
They're more used to smelling human smells
That's right.
in our areas now because of our human encroachment than they are smelling a pine tree that is nowhere in the area. Now, if I went to Pine County over here in Ohio, near where Dave Canterbury is, there's pine trees everywhere. I wouldn't want to go over there smelling like an orange. You know what I mean? Because they don't, those kind of things make sense.
Yeah, let me tell you what people do down here in Brazil, the hunters, when they want to, sometimes when they are hunting a type of animal we call paca down here, they first identify the area where the animal has been visiting, so they start, leaving food there. Right. So the animal will be used to finding that food there, and it will return to pick up more food every now and then. And what they do, some of these people, they leave their clothes there. So the animal will actually get used to the smell of those clothes being around. The same clothes as probably not the same clothes as the hunter wears, but some clothes which have his smell too. So the animals will actually get used to his smell in the area. So when he's actually out there waiting for the animal, next time it comes for the meal, the hunter won't give himself away by having his smell around, since the animal is already used to it. And that seems to work out for some types of animals down here in Brazil. I'm not a hunter. I'm not saying this from my own personal experience, but from what I've learned from people that actually did that back in the day.
Some people will smear dirt and animal feces, animal poo
yeah.
on themselves, because then they smell like what's out there.
Yeah, that's right.
And go that way. So, but if you go out there with cologne on, or go out there, with aftershave, or your sometimes your deodorant and things like that,
Or even a cigarette. If you just smoke a cigarette, you have that tobacco smell on you all the time. So I remember, get a load of this. The first time Mac and I went camping in the Mata Atlântica, Atlantic Bush here. Before we got there, another American friend of mine who lives down here in Brazil, Joe, he gave us a ride. So I didn't have my jacket on, my BDU jacket. It was in the back seat, and Joe had one of these mugs, which are supposed to keep the coffee hot for long hours. And the thing was in the back seat, on the back seat too, and I don't know how it leaked, and it was unscrewed or something. I know that a whole lot of coffee was poured and dropped on my jacket. And when I came out of the car and I put on that jacket to get to the bush, I was smelling like a gigantic, mug of coffee. And I had the smell of coffee all around me. And I even told Mac, "Hey man, I smell like this coffee thing here." And that was fine. Then we were there in that bush for 6 days straight. No bath, no shower, no changes. I'll tell you what, on the last day, the only good smell I had on me was that coffee smell, which was still on my jacket. I'm telling you that, man. That was the only good thing smelling good on my body after 6 days there. And I was glad I still had the coffee smell on me because seriously, it was better than the
Now,
steak.
when I go into the bush and when I go hunting, when I go out for deer here, I will actually, instead of putting on deodorant and to brushing my teeth with regular stuff and that, I use baking soda.
Oh
I use
yeah,
baking soda in my armpits and baking soda in my mouth and all that stuff to
your,
kill all those odors.
your armpits. I know that I you brush your teeth with that, but in your armpits, I never heard of that.
Yeah, well, because there's you take a shower, you smell like the soap, and you rub,
Oh,
the hair on your body attracts that the odor, the oils and other stuff gets in the hair of your body, so it'll smell that way. So if you rub yourself around with baking soda, it'll help diffuse that smell.
wow, I know that some people do spread vinegar on their armpits, in their
Well,
armpits.
then you smell like vinegar.
Well, yeah, but then it should take care of the BO that you got there. I
You
mean,
could, but what I'm saying is what I do with the baking soda, it just neutralizes the smells.
oh, that's cool. That's
So
good.
if you take baking soda and put it on a washcloth and just rub it all over your body, dry
Then
baking soda, it'll help
oh,
neutralize the smells all over you.
that's cool. Then you don't actually smell like anything. Like that's better than smelling like vinegar in the bush.
Or smelling like Old Spice, or smelling
Oh,
like
Old Spice. Yeah,
you know.
one of those stuff guys that will kick a coconut out of a tree, right? Like a TV commercial.
There you go. Yeah, you don't want to smell like that when you're out there. Unless you're trying to get a woman, in a
Oh yeah.
two-legged hunting. There you go. You can smell like
But I'll tell you what, man, if you're trying to impress a woman and it is your first date, I think that taking her to the bush is not a very good idea unless she's really into survival and Discovery Channel shows and all that.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Come on, baby. We're going down here and see if we can get us some electric eels.
was that?
I said, come on, baby. We're going down here and see if we can get us some electric eels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watching this interview with Cody Landine a few years ago, and it is on YouTube, and I think it is called the 1998 interview or something. But anyway, it is on his channel. Anyway, the guy was asking him about his social life, and Cody looks at him and have, what do you mean a social life? How many women do you think would like to come up here? And I would say, hey, let's go and see my TP where I live.
That's right. Let's go up to the wick up, baby. That's right.
Yeah.
He told me that. Yeah. Come on,
So,
he spent 2 years up here in the wick. Come on, baby. Let's go up here in college. You go hang out in my non-electric wood heated
yeah.
wick up. It's made of sticks. Come on up here. Yeah.
Yeah, hey baby, I just made myself a new bowl today, a new goal.
Yeah. No.
Now that would have maybe like it did work like 12,000 years ago. Would be a good way to score a girl, but
There you go.
not nowadays. Huh?
Not now. Well, buddy, we're down. It's 11:11. You got
Oh,
anything
yeah.
else you want to go with, or you want to wrap this up?
That's right, bro. It was a good talk, man. Really good.
I enjoy having you on here. Great show. A lot of people
Yeah.
talking with the camo, and we're getting into hunting season here in the States.
Oh, that's good.
Getting closer and closer to hunting season. The kids are all back in school.
All right.
What's the weather like down there for you?
Oh, it's getting hot. It's the end of winter here, but it looks like summer already. The temperature today was 32 Celsius, which is probably something in the 80s, 90s for you there. I don't know.
Let's see here. 32 Celsius. I got to look at that one. Let's see
I,
here.
I would guess it is in the 80s for you.
32 Celsius, 89.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. It was a good estimation.
You know what? It was the same temperature up here.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was right up there at 90 degrees today.
Oh yeah. So
Tomorrow's
I'm going
going to be 86, so that'd be about, let's see, that'd be 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, down here in Brazil we call it beer weather.
There you go. And
Right.
it's funny you consider that winter. So I'm afraid to see what summer temperatures are like.
No, actually, down here where I live, partially live in Belo in the city, it is. It doesn't usually get too cool or too hot. It's not much hotter than this. But in other parts of the country, we actually had the snow, and the temperature was minus for us, minus in Celsius. It was in the teens for you there. So it snowed.
Well, we're supposed to we're supposed to have one of the coldest winters on record now coming up this coming year.
I wish I was there just to enjoy it with you guys.
Oh yeah. When it gets down to negative numbers, we're talking like I don't know. Let's see. For us, it would be -4, which would be like -20 for you.
Wow, dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's what?
I'll send you a ticket and say, come on up and enjoy the snow. Yeah.
I'll tell you, the problem is having that low temperature for so long. If it was just for maybe a month, wouldn't be such a bad problem. But having it all around for like 2 or 3 months, it is surely a pain. I've never been to such a cold, extremely cold environment, but I can imagine it is.
Then you get the wind chill factor, so it's like -31 for you.
My gosh.
So yeah, you get to go out and hang out and that stuff for a while. Dig your car out and enjoy yourself while you're out there.
There's not much bushcraft going on during the winter. Huh?
No, that's ice fishing. That's ice fishing, brother. They go out there and sit on a big bucket on the ice and chisel a hole through about 2 feet of ice and fish. Yeah.
All right.
And they got guys that do that. So yeah, no.
All right.
But that's yeah. I don't know. I like it a little cool, but I don't want it that cold. That's kind
Tell
of
you what. I'll tell you what. Again, one more time, I'm inviting you. Come down to Brazil to enjoy our summertime here. We can get you several types of biomes here, tropical forest, like cerrado. You name it. Just come down here, man. Don't freeze your ass up there in the States. Get down to Brazil and enjoy the summertime here, brother.
And, let's see, Michael Hawk and our good friend Sam Sam is over in Texas, and they go down to Guatemala.
Guatemala, yeah, it's close. It's closer, right?
And go down there and teach and do some other stuff and help out with the locals down there and do
Awesome.
some other goodies down that way. So
That's
if
awesome.
you get up that way, we'll have to see if we can hook you up with Michael Hawk and Sam and see if they're up there down there at that same time. Maybe you can say hi to everybody for us.
That would be awesome. That would be great.
I don't know how hard it is for you to get to Guatemala from where you are, so.
I'll have to figure it out, but I could work it out if we just do an advance when exactly they're going there. And if we could actually, they could see me there, I could.
Do you want to go to Guatemala? That's the next question.
Never been to Guatemala, but
Yeah. All right, so how do we get hold of you if we're interested in getting with you, leaving you a message or talking to you? You got your Facebook and your YouTube. Tell us how to get hold of you.
Yeah, actually, you can get in contact to me in touch by Facebook. It's Giuliano Toniolo, Giuliano Toniolo, or through on YouTube. It's Giuliano Toniolo too. You can actually. I'm the only Brazilian shooting videos in English on the Brazilian biomes and landscape and everything. So it wouldn't be very hard to find me on YouTube either.
There you go. Of course, if you guys need to contact him, you can leave me a message at Around the Cabin. I'll make sure we shoot it to him and go that way also. So, all right, brother. Well, we'll see you. And
right.
I hope you have a good one. How's the wife? Everybody okay down there?
It's fine. Yeah, she just finished her master degree thesis, and she defended the thesis. I don't know how to say that in English. She went to have to see the 3 professors and this public thing. They asked her about the
Right.
things. She did great. Now she's a master. She's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And this is environmental law. She's a master in environmental law here in Brazil, which is awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, great.
Very cool. Save the world, girl. That's it. Save the world.
All right. All right.
There you go. Are you behaving with her?
Oh yes.
You better be. You better be. I'll come down there and smack you around.
Oh, dude, she's. I'll tell you what, she's a honey, but she can also be a honey badger. So you better not.
Yeah. I know. You guys, you enjoyed a new place. You moved in yet?
Oh yeah. I'm here in the apartment in the city.
I know where you are now, but I mean, what about the other? Did you move to the country yet?
Oh yeah, I've been living there for over a month, almost 2 months now.
Did she move in with you yet?
No, she goes there, stays there for the weekend. Not all the weekends, but some of them. But yeah, we've been working it out.
Well, she's back and forth. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, that's right. Me too, right? So it's which is awesome because you don't really get bored. It's always changing, the environment.
Yeah, very cool, man.
That's right.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good one. I appreciate it. Say goodnight. We'll get out of here.
Thank you. Good night, people. Have a good one.
There you go.